Welcome back to the Knowledge Bomb. I'm Nick Fowler. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about the 90% rule. The 90% rule is something that I kind of live by. I don't know if I came up with it. I'm sure someone else has come up with a similar thing. But I use the 90% rule to help guide my athletes, and it should be a tool to help you guide your strength training sessions in terms of identifying how much load you need on a specific lift. So there are a bunch of ways to write strength protocols, right? We can use percentages, is probably the most obvious one. And then the actual weight by telling you, hey, lift 200 pounds 5 times. The preferred method I like to use is a auto-regulation style of training. Auto-regulation style essentially leaves the loading up to you. This works in about 95–85% of situations where based on how you're feeling, the previous day's training, the type of athlete you are, it kind of leaves the loading up to you. So you can just imagine that if you didn't sleep well the night before, maybe maybe you're just sick and you're coming out of something that you're just not 100% on, and I ask you to hit, let's say three reps at 87% of your snatch, and you can't do it. It's really doing you a disservice, right? And it can be potentially dangerous. So the percents I reserve for an athlete that I really, really know, or in a very, very specific cycle. In an auto-regulation style, it allows something like 3 to 5 reps, right? Rest 3 minutes times 5 sets. It allows you to pick the loading. So in these circumstances, use the 90% rule to help dial in your loading for that session. The way it works is if we have 5 sets and I'm asking you to do a 5x3, I'm asking you to keep all your rep ranges and your loads within 10% of each other. So you're operating at least 90% of your maximal load in those working sets. This helps you avoid going too light, leading into just maybe 1 or 2 actual working sets. We can take a really simple example of a 5x3 back squat where you're going to back squat 200 pounds, okay? So that's kind of your goal weight. And let's say you start at 185 pounds, okay? And then you go 190 for your second set, right? And at 195, 200, 205. So you kind of exceed it. If you apply the 90% rule to this situation and you ask yourself, what is within 10%, right? The 185 and the 190 are actually outside of that 90% rule. So the first 2 sets you would consider a warm-up set. So you really have 2 working sets left in your session. This really allows you to avoid leaving a bunch of work on the table and opportunity on the table for you to get stronger. A lot of times you can only determine this in hindsight, right? So you have to do the reverse math, so to speak, and find out, do you have one more set to go? A lot of people, and I think the biggest pitfall, is going too light and really only getting 2 working sets out of your session. So in this situation, back squat 5x3, you have, let's say 175, 185, 195, 205, 210. It's really, you only have 2 heavy sets in there. And so it's just a great rule to apply to make sure that you're getting the most out of your training.